Righto, Year 7, just another quick explanation of how to multiply fractions. So we did this in class earlier this week, but I'm going to go over it again. Multiplying fractions is very, very easy. To multiply fractions, it's very simple. You just multiply the numerator or the top multiply the denominator the bottom and then simplify. Now, good students may be able to do this. They may be able to cancel on the top and the bottom first. So we'll have a look at how we can do that with some of these questions. But you don't have to. You can just multiply the top, multiply the bottom, and then simplify. But if you can cancel, it'll make things easier. So let's have a look at some of these. Now remember, you have to choose a column for the questions that you want to do, either column 1, 2, or 4. So I'm going to do column 3. Now I'm not going to do all of them. I'll do some of them. So let's have a look at exercise 6D, question 6, column 3. Now I did some of these in class, but here you go, you can just have a look at these. So we've got 2 on 3 times 5 on 7. So this is really easy. I just multiply the top. 2 times 5 is 10. Oops, I've got a multiplication sign there. I just need an equal sign. 2 times 5 is 10. 3 times 7 is 21. So this is going to be hard if you don't know your times tables. And let's have a look at 6G. 3 on 4 times 1 on 3. Well, 3 times 1 is 3, and 4 times 3 is 12. Now that answer is correct. But I know that I can now simplify that because I know there's a number that goes into 3 that also goes into 12. So I can make that simpler. And I know that 3 goes into itself once, and 3 goes into 12 4 times. So I'm left with 1 on 4. Now this is where people who can cancel are better off. Watch this. This is so cool. 3 on 4 times 1 on 3. Now, you have to be very, very careful here. This only works when everything is multiplied. You can only cancel when things are multiplied, both top and bottom. And everything has to be multiplied to be able to cancel. Now, what are we doing? We're simply doing the simplifying first that we did in the last step. So we look across here, and anything on the top that goes into anything on the bottom or that has a common factor, we can simplify. So 3 goes into itself once, and 3 goes into itself once, and we call that cancelling. And now I do the multiplication, and the multiplication is much easier. 1 times 1 is 1, and 4 times 1 is 4, and we get the same answer. But it's so much easier to cancel first. Let's have a look at the next one. What have I got? I've got K. 8 on 11 times 3 on 4. Well, 3 8s are 24 and 4 11s are 44. Oh, I've got to cancel. Well, let's halve them both, because that's the easiest way to cancel. Halve them both, which is dividing by 2. So that'll give me 12 on 22. Well, they're still even numbers, so I can halve them again. Half of 12 is 6, and half of 22 is 11. 6 on 11. But what happens if I cancelled first? Well, let's have a look at this. 8 on 11 times 3 on 4. Well, that's a very poor 4, so I'll fix that up. Now, it's all multiplied, so I can cancel. Nothing goes into 11 and 3, but I know that 4 goes into 8 twice and 4 goes into itself once. Now that I've cancelled and I've got everything simplified, let's multiply the top. 2 times 3 is 6. 11 times 1 is 11. And look, I get the same answer. I've just cancelled or simplified first. Let's do the last one. 5 on 10, and it's got of. It's got of. Well, remember, of just means to multiply. So 5 on 10 times 4 on 7. So this is O. 5 on 10 times 4 on 7. Well, I'm just going to simplify this straight away. I'm going to cancel. 5 goes into itself once. 5 goes into 10 twice. And look at this, I can cancel again. 2 goes into itself once, and 2 goes into 4 twice. So I got a lot of things eliminated there. Now just multiply the top. 1 times 2 is 2, and 1 times 7 is 7. That would have been a lot more difficult had I not cancelled first. Let's have a look at some harder ones. Let's have a look at question 7. 2/3 of 24. Well, again, we know of means to multiply. And 24 can be written as 24 on 1 as a fraction. Now again, I'm going to cancel first. I could multiply, but cancelling so much easier. 3 goes into itself once. 3 goes into 24 8 times. Now I cancel. I multiply. 2 times 8 is 16. 1 times 1 is 1. And 16 on 1 is just 16. What's the next one? 4/5 of 100. 4/5 of 100. Now remember, 100 can be written as 100 over 1. Again, I can cancel. I see very quickly 5 goes into itself once. 5 goes into 100 20 times. Now, I multiply the top. 4 20s are 80. 1 1 is 1. And 80 on 1 is 80. And that makes sense. 4/5 of 100. If I got 4 out of every 5 questions right in a test out of 100, I'd get 80%. That's that there, or 80 out of 100. Let's have a look at 8. And I've got 8C here. So I'm going to put 8C here. I've got 6 on 4 times 11 on 5. All right, I can do a bit of cancelling here. So I'm going to do it. 2 goes into 4 twice. 2 goes into 6 3 times. I can't see anything else that's going to cancel there, so I'm now going to do the multiplication. By the way, if you miss a cancel, if you miss something, it doesn't matter. You can get it at the end. So if you don't cancel, or you miss one of them, you can get it at the end when you simplify. So I get 33 on 10. Now that would be all right as an answer. I'd be happy if you got that as an answer. But let's be a little bit neater about it. Let's make it a mixed numeral. And remember that the vinculum, which is the line between the top and the bottom and the numerator and the denominator of a fraction means to divide. So that's 33 divided by 10. So how many times does 10 go into 33? Well, it goes 3 times with 3 left over 10. So that's 8C. Let's have a look at the next one. G. 10 on 7 times 21 on 5. Now, if I tried to do this multiplication, I could do it. 10 times 21 is pretty easy, and 7 times 5 is pretty easy as well. But then I'd have to cancel, and I'd find that difficult. And I know some things here. 5 goes into itself once. 5 goes into 10 twice. And 7 and 21, if I know my 7 times tables, I know 7 goes into itself once, and 7 goes into 21 3 times. Now, if I just multiply the top, I get 2 times 3 is 6, and 1 times 1 is 1, and 6 on 1 is just 6. Let's have a go at the next one. And we're up to question 8 now. 9. So 9. I'm actually going to give myself a bit of space here for 9, because it requires a little bit of work. Now I've got 3 1/4 times 2 2/5. 3 1/4 times 2 2/5. Now it's a good idea to know that that's 3 and a bit times 2 and a bit. 3 times 2 is 6. So it'll be 6 something, maybe 7, to have an idea in your head about what the answer is going to be. Now here is the difficulty. We have to make these fractions improper. We need to go back to making them improper. How do I do that? Well, I go 4 times 3 and I add the 1. Well, 4 times 3 is 12 plus 1 is 13. So I get 13 on 4. Let's do the same to the second one. 5 times 2 is 10 plus the 2 is 12. So I get 12 on 5. Now again, if I did that 13 times 12, that's hard. So is 4 times 5. But I can cancel. 4 goes into itself once and 4 goes into 12 3 times. It makes it easier. Now 3 times 13, well, that's one more than 12 times 3. And 12 3s are 36. So add another 3, 39. And 1 times 5 is 5. Remember, the vinculum, the line between top and the bottom, means divide. So how many times does 5 go into 39? 5 goes into 39 7 times with 4 left over. And when I get my answer, and I'm looking at it now, and I'm right, but I knew I was right because I knew 3 times 2 is 6, and they were both a bit more. So it could be 6 something, could be 7 something. So at least I knew I was in the right area with my answer. So these are getting a bit harder now. Let's have a look at question 10C. So 10C. And I've got 3/4 of 5 1/3. 3/4 of means to multiply. 5 1/3. Well, I know I'm going to get less than 5, but it's going to be close to 5 because it's almost a full amount, 3/4 of it. So it might be 4, but we'll see. So 3/4 times, now we have to make it improper. 3 times 5 is 15, plus the 1 is 16. So I get 16 on 3. Now I could do that multiplication. 3 times 16, 4 times 3, but it's a bit difficult. Hey, look at those 3s. I know 3 goes into itself once, 3 goes into itself once. Hey, I also know 4 goes into itself once and 4 goes into 16 once. Oh, now I've made it really, 4 goes into 16 Come on, Mr. Tonkin. 4 goes into 16 4 times. Now it's real easy. 4 times 1 is 4. 1 times 1 is 1. 4 on 1, well, that's just 4. Okay, and that sounds like the answer we were looking for. Finally, let's have a look at the last one. G, 8 on 9 times 6 on 20. G, 8 on 9 times 6 on 20. All right. Now that's hard. 8 times 6 is 48. 9 times 20 is 180. Oh, it's going to be ugly. I could do it, but I know some things. I know that 3 goes into 6 twice. I know that 3 goes into 9 3 times. So I've made it simpler. Hey, I also know that 4 goes into 8 twice and 4 goes into 25 times. Now let's see what we get when we multiply those. 2 times 2 is 4 and 3 times 5 is 15. How do we go? What question's that? 10G. And we're right. So let's look back. What do you do? It's pretty easy. Multiply the top, multiply the bottom, and then simplify. If you're good, you can cancel. You can simplify first. Also remember, if you get an improper fraction, a mixed numeral, you've got to make it into an improper fraction. So good luck with those, Year 7.